How great would it be if I just didn't let Rug speak? And I'm going to invite Nate up. The primary focus will be to bring questions to Rug, but of course, if you want to ask Nate questions as well as we move along, feel free. Well, as long as Nate wants to come up.
Can we go back to the not letting Rogue speak thing? That'd be sweet.
You know, I think
That'd be fucking really cool.
I think for the next Twitter Spaces, that's going to be the way to go.
We should just vote.
All right, we are at exactly 6 p.m. PST, so might as well get started. Remember, make sure to throw your questions into the flight deck chat. I'll be keeping an eye on there in order to ask them. If you are not in the Discord, I would highly recommend going to the Discord. But if you can't in the meantime, raise your hand and we'll bring you up to ask Rogue questions. So if you have any burning questions, make sure to ask them. But I'll begin with. Oh, actually, that question doesn't have anything to do with this. All right, so yeah, well, I don't know if Rug, you want to open up with anything while we wait for people to get their first questions in or not.
I'm just looking for the flight deck chat right now so I can peer into that too.
Oh yeah, so you'll that is in the in the Discord in the communications bay. If you were to be in general, it is three
Ah,
down.
ah, got it, got it. Here we are. Cool, 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 perfect. And no, I don't have anything really to launch off with. Just excited to be here, answer some questions, hopefully alleviate some confusion, and get you all excited for the next coming weeks.
So I know I'll start off with one which I know I've heard a few times, but I think some explanation from your end will be good just to kind of alleviate some stuff. I explained yesterday to people in the chat that one of the main causes for the delay in terms of the Space Poggers kind of tribe accounts was due to the fact that there were some issues in terms of fit for the people for that, and so I know some people are kind of a little bit concerned about the fact that those were started up and they didn't kind of start rolling out in terms of tweeting and posting around the time that we thought they would initially.
Got it. And by the tribe accounts, you mean the Twitter accounts, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we had intended on doing is we have one Twitter social media strategist that works for us, and then a couple people who are really executing the tweets and things like that. The couple people we had executing the tweets, running great, everything is good, but taking on the volume of 12 accounts is a pretty huge undertaking. So we're doing the best that we can with the resources that we have, but right now we have a list of people together that we're going to try to recruit from within to start taking over the Twitter accounts. Because what ended up happening in our original strategy was to recruit some traditional social media managers just from the traditional marketing space. But what happened is we went through three of them, and the entire conversation was bordered around what is NFTs or what are NFTs, what is blockchain, this and that, and it just would not. It would be very disingenuous to plug someone like that into your tribes. So the conversation really shifted more towards let's look within, let's find the big proponents within the space, and let's like kind of get an eye on them. And then when we're ready to release the actual profiles onto the site, we'll get serious about turning those over. Right now, what we're most concerned with is getting out of the like I would say the grace period, not even the grace period, but the probation period with Twitter, where the accounts will get taken down if we're not active on every single one of them. So we're shifting those between right now three people managing them, and it will soon be transitioned over to actual Space Poggers collectors and community members.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good kind of explanation because I know that was a concern that a few people had, and I think getting that kind of fully fleshed out is going to be a good way for settling that. Um, oh, and just because we've had quite a few people join in, if you want to come up onto the stage and ask a question as opposed to asking in the flight deck chat, feel free to do so. We'll happy to talk. You don't need to just type in questions. But I'll give people a second to bring those to bring any questions up.
I see a question in the chat where there's someone saying, "Will poggers yield a certain amount of MSG per day?" MSG as a concept is brand new. We Nifty and I started talking about just the concept of a social coin and an ERC20 just within this last week. And if you were on the not even AMA, but the impromptu just brainstorm session we did last night, you see how organic this became. I know that Nifty's interested in making the MSG coin very, very ingrained in almost every aspect of Space Poggers. So we shall see. But I don't know. There's a lot that's in his brain right now that we're waiting on to execute.
Yeah, yeah, that's a big thing, especially with things like MSG. It's very new, and there's a lot of things to really flesh out. So it'll be a little bit ephemeral for now as we kind of get everything ironed out and put in place. Because one thing we definitely don't want to do is roll out something like MSG and decide we're going to do this, this, and this without really planning it out, and then have it crash and burn. But Nerd was oh, what was it? Oh, it's cut off of it. Nerd with a gun came up. If you wanna ask a question. All right. It just says connecting, but once you're able to connect, feel free to throw in a question. See, Papa Smurfin is typing in the chat, so we'll see if Nerd with a gun can. Oh, there we go. So Star Scream is up. Let me approve that.
Yo, what's up? So I have a couple questions that were asked of me to ask. It's definitely a situation of don't shoot the messenger here. Number one, uh, with the rug branding, specifically, this seems to be coming up a lot of this very degen and what some people are calling toxic. I think a lot of people are kind of worried: is this really going to leak over into poggers? Some people are feeling like Poggers had this situation of being kind of family friendly and or being less mature than original. Is there any way that you can kind of like give people a sense of security that Rug's branding, that very abrasive branding, isn't going to leak over into the Poggers atmosphere?
I mean, what do you want me to do aside from telling you guys no, it won't? That is very clear on our site that we're able to work with pretty much any kind of messaging. Yeah, like sometimes our crowds will come over to your server, and I've apologized for that a few times, but the overall messaging behind Rug isn't what we're trying to convey to all of our clients. We have some people that are releasing stealth this week that if you read it, you would have no idea that it came from our brand. But more so, yeah, there's things that are very abrasive with it. I wouldn't go as far to say toxic, but I guess some people would, and that's not really for me to tell people what their opinion is on my brand. But no, that is very specifically my brand, and Space Poggers is Space Poggers' brand. There's no reason to conflate the two of them.
Okay. The other question that they had was, you currently have three projects, and people feel like they want to know, one, how do you feel about your projects, the price floor in there, and if you feel that you've been successful in marketing those. And also, people are asking, is there any way that you can give any hints or insights into your previous resume? People feel like they don't know you very well right now.
I have closer to 9 projects right now. I don't know where the three number is from, but we have. If you go to fuckingrug.com, you can see all of the current projects that are going on. But there's also 13 people that work at Rug.marketing from various degrees of expertise. So we have trainees, we have specialists, solidity specialists, graphic design specialists, marketing specialists, etc. So bandwidth-wise, everything is good to go. And what was the second component of that question?
Do you feel like the projects that you have that are deployed, have they been successful? And do you have any insight into your own resume into marketing?
I think success is a weird thing to nail down. It really depends on what we're calling success. And I think success isn't something that's called while a project is going on, while it's an ongoing project. So I would say yes, absolutely. We've had huge degrees of success on all of the goals that we've set out. Goals of raising tons of money for charity, goals of releasing technology that people haven't seen before, goals of introducing new paradigms into NFTs that really, like I said, haven't been seen before. So I would say in those aspects, we've been very successful, combating market conditions and having floors above 1 ETH and things like that are just not like if you've listened to any of the Discord AMAs that I did earlier and the other servers, you realize that it's you're trying to catch falling knives if you're going to sit there and try to go against the market behavior. So all you can do is innovate, make sure that you're constantly going back to product and making product better and better and better, and really just hoping. I mean, there's not a fair degree of anything that you could do with the market that's moving as with as much volatility as ETH and NFTs and cryptocurrency, etc. And as far as like giving some background on my personal life and things like that, I did maintain that I have a degree, or not a degree, a background in marketing, a big background in coding, and some backgrounds in like media and things like that. But I'd rather not go into like client lists and things like that, simply because conflating NFTs and real life isn't as bad when you all hear the places that I've worked for and things like that. But it is weird when we start getting questions from our traditional clients and things like that that are like, what are NFTs? What are this? And it's not necessarily the exploratory conversation that you guys think would be great to onboard people. It's more of people are sketched out by it. People are not not there yet. So it's just a degree of reality separation that is healthy, and it works. Like it keeps things in two separate places. So no, I don't think there's any going to be any point where I'll dox myself specifically. My name's Tom, but that's about as far as I feel comfortable going.
And then just the last question was, what exact future do you see for Poggers in your own long-term view, outside of what obviously Nifty has told us? Um, why Poggers? Because you are very selective about the projects that you choose. So what did you see here?
I mean, it's not even a matter of what I saw. I was one of the first people that talked to Nifty when he started getting the idea of having a generative project. So we were around when he was trying to develop the tech. The same people that are working for Rug Marketing were working with him, consulting, doing what we needed to do to just get him the information. And because of projects that we had and this project moving forward, we didn't necessarily go forward with the tech side of things. But now that we're coming full circle, that's exactly what we're doing. Like we're building out some awesome tech and things like that. The websites, the web profiles, Discord bots that are custom tailored for the fucking tribes. Pretty much everything that you saw in that announcement and then some. And then how do I feel about Poggers moving forward? I think it's one of the projects that you'll see longevity in, and that's why I get excited about it, because I know that in 3 months we're going to have a product here that we can keep innovating on. I know in 3 years there's a roadmap that is sustainable all the way till the end, where we have animations coming out and things that we can constantly market. And that's what really sets this and the projects that I like to get involved with, is just that feeling of longevity. Like I feel like through the ups and downs, and regardless of where the floor is or volume is or etc. Like I feel like because of Nifty's attitude and because of the people he brings around, the innovation is just going to drive us forward into a product that will last for the future.
Awesome. I think the community will really appreciate your answers on that, Rug. So thank you. I'm gonna step down now if anybody else has questions.
Yeah, and while we wait to see if anyone else has more questions and wants to come up on the stage and talk, one from Papa Smurfing is, what can the community do currently to help with marketing? I know, especially while right now we're sitting in this brief lull while we wait for a lot of tech to come out and waiting for the animation to come out. There's a bit of there's a bit of antsiness in the community of what can they do to help in this time period where the team is focusing on a lot of these development goals and getting things prepared to show for them to start championing for everyone. So, from your perspective, Rug, where do you kind of see the community's role in this period and going forward in terms of helping with the marketing?
I think the community is the marketing, really. I mean, that's the strategy that we have, is utilizing the community. We have 12 different tribes, 13 including zero. And the thing is just like I've said from the beginning, choose your tribe, get excited about the tribe that you're representing, and get ready, because the entirety of our marketing is based around the relationships and the tensions and the feuds or the camaraderies and the things like that that we can have between the tribes, and introducing things like a like proprietary economy with MSG is only going to move that forward. So embrace the tribal dynamic, push out toxicity. Like if you see people that are like kind of going a little bit too overboard with it, we don't want that. But the big thing right now is to realize that like Space Poggers is 13 individual collections that happen to look similar. Like there's 13 individual creatures that we have different plans for each one. It's a lot to roll out, but since we have such a long roadmap, it's not a stress to roll it out. The only thing it really stresses is sometimes collectors' time frames are a little bit shorter than ours, and they like to see action a lot quicker. And I'm one to not release something unless it's as refined as we can make it. So I'll shoulder all of that just on being a perfectionist. But yeah, that's my opinion. I think I'm rambling at this point.
Oh, it's good. It's good rambling at that, which I think is nothing to discount. I'm looking at the flight deck chat now. I'm not seeing any more. If anyone wants to come up and speak or ask questions, I mean, you know, now is the time to do it. Otherwise, we can keep vamping and stuff. But definitely, I mean, the time to bring questions to Rug is now because it's a lot of work on his end and can't can't constantly drag him into spaces like in my dream world. Got Kendrick Lama typing. Oh, and then one request to speak from Rarity Mints. All right, if you wanna throw your question in, Rarity.
Hey, yeah, thanks for your time, guys. I was just wondering if Space Poggers was collaborating with any other NFT creative teams and how the community, from your perspective, is working with each other from the creative team side.
Yeah, I can tackle that one. So right now we're being a bit um a bit selective in terms of who we're collaborating with in order to make sure that if we're doing a collab between ourselves and another project that it's something where the two of us are really pushing forward in a message and direction that really fits with the two of us. So we're definitely okay with the idea of doing collaboration and stuff, but it's more of a question of kind of deeper discussion instead of just kind of jumping out and doing it. And in terms of how the community factors into that and getting that kind of collaborative element in, it's pretty large. I'd say it's fairly central, and you'll see, especially if you look at anything in terms of space poggers, like with the mice tribe and well, all tribes really, a lot of a lot of emphasis on the tribes being able to kind of build and own their part of the space and push things forward and be a part of the project as opposed to kind of riding along while we just kind of shoo them in a direction. I think that that's where I see a lot of the kind of community elements with that. I don't know if Rug wants to hop into to either of those points.
Well, that's not on my roadmap at all. Like, I don't find a problem with interacting with other creators and communities and stuff like that. That's just not anything that we have like slated on our to-do list to do outreach or anything like that. But if that was something that was brought up, yeah, it's awesome. We do that with a lot of other projects. So always looking to spread momentum if we can, if it's the right fit.
Yeah, and then yeah, do you have any more questions, Rarity?
No, that was really like my main one because I've seen on the Twitter space that a lot of like, I would consider you guys like a very big NFT team right now, and I see like a lot of collaboration between the teams that are trying to push the community forward for everybody. So just kind of wondering about that. And then I've also seen it like in the space myself. I own a mouse, and I've seen how like everybody just rallies together and they're like, just pushing the narrative forward. So I do see that you guys are really giving everybody a lot of freedom to push this narrative, but also like it's still within the constraints of like what your vision is. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah, that's a huge thing that we've been working on kind of maintaining the direction and goal of the project, but allowing a lot of autonomy for people to build and grow the space because no project exists without its community's ability to kind of grow. And then, okay, so a question from the flight deck chat. Kendrick Lama asks, says, hopped on a bit late, but I think a lot of us are curious about some of the tech you're working on. Is there something you're excited about most that you can speak more specifically on at this point?
Hell yeah, the website, like the whole website experience, the tribe profiles and the Pogger profiles, they look badass. Like they look so sick, and the functionality is just awesome. Like there's only a couple projects out there that have like fully bespoke web experiences. One of which being CryptoPunks. So that's super duper fun to me. It's just making these profiles that exist because of the metadata that we have within Poggers and in the math that we're doing to like determine like charity, the fucking donations, etc. It's cool. It's so neat watching these pages to come together, and it's also weird to me that like a lot of these bare minimum type pages, like these one page landers and things like that. And I'm definitely not one to speak on that because I literally that's my brand, but it's baffling to me sometimes how like the lack of functionality, like nobody even thinks about adding cool stuff to a website, and we've had web apps for years and years and years. So taking some of that technology here is what I'm really excited about. Just having so you guys can have an actual legitimate functional site that you get use out of, rather than just like a lander right now that kind of tells an old story. So that's what I'm most excited about, is changing you from a website to a web app.
Yeah, that's been from a not outside perspective, but from watching the development of it has been it's been pretty fantastic watching that grow and develop and seeing the things that everyone else is about to see pretty soon has been really fun to watch as it grows. All right. I'm not seeing anyone typing. I would, if anyone has more questions, feel free to bring them up. Not that this has to go for like an hour or anything, because we can keep it relatively tight. If most people's questions have been answered, but definitely keep them coming if you got them. Otherwise, we can open up a little bit and people can come up and talk more, or we can just wrap it up. It's relatively up to how many questions people have got. All right, see Papa Smurfin is typing in the chat.
Rug, I know one that people probably won't ask. This isn't a question myself. More so just speaking from the community when people aren't around, as in the team. A lot of people are saying that they feel that your projects are cash grabs. Do you feel the same about your own projects, and what can you say to the community to make them kind of feel like that you do believe in what you're building?
I don't like that a lot of people say your projects are cash grabs kind of questions. First of all, I'm going to put that out there because I'd like to quantify those lots of people.
Um,
Second of all, what NFT project right now isn't a cash grab? Everybody's trying to make money. That's literally what this is, or people will be giving away NFTs for free. I like to make money in new and innovative ways, and I like to spread that money around in new and innovative ways. I like to say that our projects and the projects that I've been responsible for have been a lot more altruistic than most of the projects that I've seen, and we've done more to give to charities. And I don't want to use that as a constant like run back to like, oh, we give to charities. You can't say that we're not a cash grab. But at the end of the day, name one NFT that isn't out there to make profit, and then we can have a conversation about like people who say my projects are cash grabs any more than any others. I think that our projects are providing experiences, tangible items, access, and a bunch of other cool stuff and commentary on current market conditions. If that's a cash grab, that's fine, and I'm definitely making money off of them. But once again, we are not alone in creators that are making money off NFT culture right now.
Yeah, my apologies. Definitely don't mean a lot of people. That's definitely the wrong way. Just people who come into chat and say this. Definitely a small amount of people. But yeah, thanks for the answer.
But I think that the term cash grab, I mean, if it's implied that like you're going to grab and then leave, no, I mean that's if you look at the longevity on the projects that I've been running, even beyond the cats and things like that. Like these are things that like we stay on and we can continue to develop technology for. And I want to like I wasn't necessarily aggravated at you. I was just kind of putting a lens on people who do frame questions like that. Like a lot of people say this or a lot of people say X, and there might be a lot of people that say these things, but in actuality, when we break apart the components that they're criticizing, or either I'm marketing to sell more NFTs or the NFTs are I don't know. I don't know what really is the delineating factor that would say my NFTs would be cash grabs over anybody else's really. It's a good question though. I mean it's a good question. I'm glad to answer.
Yeah, no, definitely a lot of fair points there. Yeah, I see a lot of the things that I feel like when we have these talks, people will come into the chat and they'll say these things, but when we have these actual chances for people to stand up, nobody asks the questions that they'll kind of blast around.
Yeah, it can definitely be a bit easier to throw some questions that might not have as much, I don't know, potential weight or thought behind them without the actual when the conversation isn't actually happening. But moving on to some more questions. Papa Smurfin asks, what type of growth do you think is realistic? I know Nifty mentioned floor price and volume being important metrics, but what do you think are realistic numbers in this market? Not when moon, more managing expectations for the community.
It's a weird question. I mean, that question in itself isn't weird. That's a great question, but it's a hard question to tackle. If you saw the Dune dashboard that we put out, and Nifty dropped it, I think last night when we were doing the MSG, you could see a lot of figures that we're trying to track. But decoupling Space Poggers movement from like average NFT market movement from Ethereum market movement is a very, very difficult number to track. So we have 3 people on our data team at Rug Marketing that are constantly looking at all of the figures to kind of get a determination of whether or not movement is because of a project, is because of any number of factors. But those numbers are all going to be anecdotal because there's so many things that are moving. But as far as what type of growth do you think is realistic? I think consistent growth is realistic, but quantifying growth in a market like this right now, where we see like I would be a complete asshole to tell you like, okay, we're going to go from this floor and we're going to 3x it in 90 days. It's just not something that I would feel comfortable telling people. But I can tell you that everything that we're doing is floor focused, is volume focused, or is unique wallets focused. So those are all KPIs that if we can move, then obviously that's going to make people happy. But there's nothing that we could do to change an entire market. Like all we could focus on is making sure that Space Poggers has the best, absolute best, most refined product going forward. So we have the longevity to persevere through this winter, the next winter, etc. Like that's my big concern is to make sure that we hit our short, our mid, and our long-term goals.
Tackling along the side of short and midterm goals, Papa Smurfin also asks, is the focus predominantly for the marketing in the NFT market for the short and midterm? I know eventually we want IP that is larger than just the NFT space, but how are we currently planning the marketing directives right now in terms of what markets we're going to be targeting?
I would say that Rug right now is focusing on short to midterm marketing, and we're making sure that complements your long-term roadmap. Nifty and crew are focusing on making sure that the long-term deliverables are still consistent and are still there. When it comes time to market those long-term deliverables, like when we're getting actually close to it, I hope that we're still the team around that's responsible for marketing, and if we are, then we'll be talking about those. But right now, to make sure that we get the community sentiment back to a good place and just get everybody back to having fun, our focus is going to be short to midterm until we feel that we've done any kind of significant numbers for you guys.
Then next, Kendrick Lama asks, earlier there was a mention about broader social marketing to include TikTok or YouTube. Do you have any insight on that side of marketing?
I don't think I was the one to mention that. I don't have any specific strategy laid out for TikTok and YouTube, and that's just because through projects in the past we've found very little viability in those spaces. It doesn't seem like the conversation is happening that seriously. More so on TikTok. Like we do see some activity on TikTok, but it does seem like they're kind of shadow banning more NFT and crypto related conversation than most networks as well. Also with TikTok, you deal with a weird base there. You're typically it's going to be your 13 to 17 demographic, and those traditionally aren't people that you can market these kind of assets to. So a little bit trepidatious there. I don't know what the overarching plans are. I don't know if Nifty has a plan to jump into TikTok and YouTube, but that's not specifically something that we're tailoring strategies for. Just because we feel like it's not the best expenditure of marketing energy right now, just because of those individual platforms.
Yeah, I can jump into that a little bit. A part of that is most of that type of marketing and pushing on those fronts is going to be on our end. We have a pretty on the team. We can't really announce too much about who he is, but he's a pretty strong asset in terms of pushing this video content outwards, and in terms of things like TikTok and YouTube and pushing in those directions, it'll be predominantly on our side of things like that, whereas Rug's marketing is going to be much more on the immersive ends of it. Oh, and then Mama Bucks came up to ask a question as well.
Yeah, I have a question plus just kind of a statement. Listening, I came in late, so hopefully I didn't miss anything. I know somebody raised that we tend to have a lot more questions and complaints when we aren't put on the spot to ask them. And I wanted to say as well, I think too, that we've had a lot of communication today. We've had a lot of updates in the last 24, 36 hours. And so I think the biggest thing I'm seeing, and I've felt myself, is just kind of that lack of communication and lack of direction and momentum. And I know for myself that we've kind of gotten a little bit more of that in the last day or so. So I think that might be why some of these questions are a bit more quiet today. Just wanted to put my 2 cents into that one. So my question is, will there be an opportunity for there to be any kind of like peacekeepers or how do I say this? I don't want to fight. I love all my poggers. And I love leading the mouse tribe. But will there, be roles available for people to be bringing the tribes together, or is it all going to be competition?
I think that the full goal is going to be the tribes working in unison. I like when I say like conflict and things like that. It's not going to be like Lord of the Flies or anything like that. We're not gonna go that deep with it. Like it's gonna be friendly competition. Like we'll do games and things like that where we have MSG as rewards. We'll have competition to see which tribe can raise the most for charity because that's fun. But as far as like mudslinging and just nastiness, I don't think that we'll really delve into that with this server. This is a pretty wholesome server, despite like even the somewhat adult content of the backstory of Space Poggers. I just want to kind of tap back to that. That I heard somebody mention earlier that this is family friendly, but even for my onboarding, even though these are approachable, I would say they're family approachable. The story of these are like drunken animals flying through space is somewhat Comedy Central late night to me. So that's what I have to say. And what you had said, Mama Bucks, with more things coming out, I want to comment on that as well because it's the reason for that is because we came on the market so late in the project. We came on the market after you had sold out and you guys had gone down a road. You had established marketing branches already. Whereas if we would have came in the beginning, Rug Marketing wasn't even an established brand. But if we would have came in and really established these things first, these would have been marketing rollouts that we would have been able to use as the project rolled out. But since we're coming asynchronously to the project, it's a little bit difficult to announce things because we don't want to. It's really hard to calculate the right point to announce something because you don't want the hype to blow off when you release, and you don't want to disappoint people if there's delays or things like that, because technology is fickle. So with that, you're seeing things right now because tech is starting to get tangible. We're starting to see things, designs come back. We're starting to see tech actually work. We're starting to see dashboards light up. It's actually looking like we have a roadmap where we're getting ready to lift off. So the reason things have been in the dark is simply because I don't want to get in a situation where I'm over promising to y'all, and I'm getting people's hopes up way too soon about something that's way too awesome. So fortunately, we got everything awesome completed, and we're about to roll it out, and that's why you're hearing more communication now.
Great, thank you.
And then Cubix asks, some tribes are leading others, and are your team going to push more in marketing for less popular tribes to balance the situation?
I would say on a general idea, that's definitely something that we would look at. Like those are easy numbers to look at on a sheet and say, okay, it looks like this tribe needs help, this tribe needs help, so on and so forth. So putting a little bit more effort into that or doing things to just help those tribes along is great, especially if there's a huge outlier. Then we could do something to really help those tribes, like little micro marketing initiatives for the individual tribes. And that really taps back to really digging deep and finding these community members that will be community leaders and hopefully operating these the Twitter accounts. So with that, like we can utilize that synergy between the tribes to really help the ones that are either falling behind or just kind of help everybody along and still keep our friendly competitive nature.
Then, so you touched on this a little bit just now, but Dino SS, in case there's more, you want to add, Dino SSA asks, I understand what you're working on. It's good. How will you communicate this value to the world?
I think we just kind of touched on that in the slippery slope that you really don't have numbers to lay down. Is like when to start talking about technology, when to start releasing technology. Because another thing is there people in the NFT space are looking at every single one of these projects. You guys specifically had your website copied. So the last thing I want to do is like release to your community like this X Y A B C D E F G. This is our game plan. This is exactly what we're doing, because it would suck if somebody front ran us and just got to the point before we got there. So a lot of the concepts that we have are awesome, and we keep those close to our chest because we want to make sure that we're in a good enough place to release them before somebody else can be like, oh, that's a good idea, mine. Because yeah, I mean that just unfortunately happens, and we're not like diverting past to get litigious with people. We're just going to build tech and be awesome with it. And that's a little bit of the method behind not being as forthcoming with the tech as it's coming along, because we do have a lot of eyes on us because we are known to build cool technology.
Then, so I see one more question coming in, and then so this is a tricky one because it's it's one of those kind of crystal ball questions. But King2 asks, why do you think some PFP projects instantly maintain floors of 1 plus S right after their mints, and why do you think Poggers were not a part of that group?
There's a tinfoil hat answer to this. There's a realistic answer to this. There's so many different ways that you can go with this. Like to satisfy the conspiracy theorists out there, obviously there's like a backdoor room of like 30 or 40 people that are running all these individual projects and paying each other and all that. But that's probably not realistic. I don't know. And then the realistic way of looking at it is there's just some projects out there that just really hit stride at the right time. And like I think one of the best ones out there to comment on that, obviously, I mean, we all look at the Bored Apes, and they just came out of nowhere, and I think Nifty likes using that one as well because they did it as perfect as you can, and they've really set the archetype for how to you do immersive NFT projects, how to break away from the JPEG mold. So yeah, I think that's what's going on, and I don't think that Space Poggers got left behind. I don't think that we weren't a part of that group. I think there's just times for everything, and you're not going to see multiple Bored Apes launch in a year. Like we're years out of Punk's launches. Like, and it took a long time for us to get to this point. So Yeah, that's why I think that like it seems like they instantly maintain these floors. I think it's a blend of stuff going on that might be a little bit different. Like there's I don't know. It's a loaded and layered answer to give you, but I don't have an answer for that. I really don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, it's the fairest one. There's a lot that goes into what makes the events for each drop and the floors for each one happening. All right, so the next question is from Papa Smurfing, which is appreciate the answers, Rug. Really like the stuff coming out lately, and your thoughts. Oh, I don't think that's a question at all. It's just saying they really appreciate their thoughts, which is quite good. I'd
Oh,
agree.
great.
I think quite good and candid answers all around.
Well, I appreciate your questions, Bubba Smurf.
Um, so Kendrick Lama.
Ooh, I like that question. That's a good one.
Yeah, yeah. I'll ask that real quick, and we can jump right in that because I think there's a lot to explore in this question. So this might from Kendrick Lama. This might not be the right setting, but I'll give it a shot. Is there any outlook on when we'll know the personalities of the different tribes? Might be useful for the community if they knew how the characters will be portrayed by the writers in the larger SP story slash universe.
So I have a crazy big spreadsheet right now that is a rubric of not just personality traits, but like foes and abilities and just demeanors and fears and loves and dislikes and things like that. So we're really breaking down what each one of them likes and dislikes, and I'm doing it in a programmatic way. So we have like a nice balance of different things there. So you have something for everybody in there, which is a neat kind of thing with that. And that also lets us do. I don't know how this translates to the animation. I don't know how this all translates over. And obviously, any of this has to get approved by Nifty and get approved by Space Poggers before we move forward. I'm not dictating the personality types of the brand. I want to clarify that. But we're just making it so it's easy to look at on a spreadsheet, so we can make programmatic decisions off of. So we could say like, okay, if this Pogger vibes with this Pogger, then X yield on MSG for this task could be this. Or if you're working with what's considered a foe, then your yield can be this. Like we could do some really cool decision trees just based off of that, not only on a website to show like, okay, these guys fuck with these guys don't fuck with these guys don't fuck with anybody. But we can do like cooler things in the Discord, and like I say cool a lot, but that's like the coolest part about my job is because everything I build is cool, like stuff I think is cool. So yeah, like I think yeah, that's the personalities of the different tribes are getting boiled down to a science. Like just like people would boil down trait rarities and things like that, we're making sure that every little component about the personality, the interactions, and like all of that are cool, awesome, and very to the character. We have something for everybody. Once again, rambling, so I'll shut up.
Yeah, I think that's really cool and something that I think will be it ties back into an earlier question in terms of the delay on the tribe accounts. Having that really fleshed out and able to be so well defined is going to be such a crucial aspect of making all 13 of those accounts really interact and engage with the community really dynamically and really genuinely. Um,
And we're not going to call that a delay either. I would say like we launched those pretty much when we needed to. Our delay right now is staffing up those accounts to make sure that they're all being ran as consistently as possible. But they launched when they were supposed to, and you all do have all those Twitter accounts, which no other brand is doing something like that. So it's a slow grow right now because of manpower, but I wouldn't call it a delay. And I wouldn't say anything negative about it because even though we're kind of understaffed on getting those accounts active and on the clock 24/7, it's a really, really awesome component about this project. It's really going to be amplified on the site. Each individual tribe is going to be treated like their own almost brand. It's a really, really neat experience.
yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, referring to it as a delay does add a much more I don't know potentially negative connotation to it, which just thinking about it in my mind wasn't even there. I see, and I see Kendrick Lama is typing something right now. If anyone wants to ask more questions, just because we're coming up to about an hour or 15 minutes out, just so that we make sure that if you do have questions, make sure to get them in, so that we can make sure everyone's had their questions answered. but I'm not seeing anything being written or any requests to speak. So if people don't have questions, that's totally great. We can wrap up and then oh, I see one from the Dowel. All right, and you are up, Dowell.
Hi, this is Baxendale, representing the Dell right now. Just have a quick question. I've been looking over the volume of the project, especially in the last 12 hours. We've driven 0.05 ETH, and that from one sale. And at the same time, Discord communication is very much down. Um, but in the next week, we have big make or break things that are happening with the project. Animations launching, and then website experience is also going to be fleshed out. And I just want to say it sounds like great things are going to happen there, but I'm worried about. It looks like there's a loss of eyeballs to some extent. How are we going to recapture those eyeballs before we actually launch these make or break initiatives for the project?
I think that kind of goes back to the when's the right point to get those eyeballs back here. Do we have things established? Do we have our new website? Do we have all the Twitter accounts going before we really make that push? Or do we really start getting people there and start getting people hyped up? And for us, we're taking a blended approach to that. As we get the designs finalized and those are actually up on the staging site, and we've seen them, and if they said, okay, this is what we're good to go with launch wise, we can start cutting promo videos. We can start really getting out the marketing on these things. But I keep going back to the last thing I want to do is get a bunch of people in here that have huge expectations or are just really like it's a really oh, pardon me 1 second. It's just a slippery slope. I'm sorry about that. My son was making all kind of noise. I yelled at him for a second. It's just a really slippery slope to market tech because we want to make sure that it's user tested. If we get a bunch of eyes on it, we find a bug on the website or something like that, Space Poggers community as a whole are going to be awesome about helping us find that out. A bunch of new people to it. If we make a bunch of hype about a site and there's some kind of weird bug, which there wouldn't be. We do a lot of QA and QC. That's just an example. Like it's a slippery slope of when to market and when to get people there, and we're trying to split the difference on it.
Great, thanks.
I have another question. We're talking about the different personalities of the tribes and how they're going to be marketed more heavily with the Twitter pages and everything. Is there going to be an opportunity later on if people don't feel like they're vibing with their tribe to make that switch, or are we kind of stuck where we've chosen?
No, I think there will be opportunities to make the switch. We've talked about that loosely. We're also talking about ways to kind of solidify making that switch. So that whole process will be a little bit different as we move forward. Right now, I'd say it's like kind of rudimentary green square one, and we'll be moving forward to something a little bit more refined as we get that technology developed.
Mama Bucks asked that question because she wants to join the Dell.
I just like all of the tribes so much that I have a hard time. That's why I like to call myself the Arc Mama, because I want to keep everybody together. I want everybody to have a fair shot. So I have a hard time overriding that inside of me. So that's why I'm asking.
I think a lot of the pushes towards getting more collaboration across tribes is going to be really big in terms of that, making sure that even though people will have their specific tribes, there'll be the whole ARC community as well.
And that's been my biggest concern. And I do think it's because there was a little bit of lack of communication and lack of direction. Is that um, it felt like we were pushing against each other when I know that the bigger mission here is to bring us all together and make us the strongest brand overall. And so I think that's where a lot of that hesitation and worry comes in for me, is feeling like we've been on this trend in the last week or two of actually kind of breaking apart from the overall umbrella brand and not realizing that we're here to strengthen all of us. And so for me, I'm that person that when I see the other tribes post something that's cool, I share it immediately. It doesn't matter if it's Mouse Tribe or not. So just really wanting to make sure that we are focused on raising everybody up is my biggest motivation and drive right now.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a huge thing, and definitely something that as we're going forward and building out these collaborative things, something we'll see a pretty strong return to. One thing. Okay, so Jesse asks in the flight deck tribe, do you have to hold a Pog River tribe to join that tribe? Right now, not that's not set in stone, so you could theoretically join any of them within the Discord. But longer term, I think we're going to shift towards making sure that for joining tribes for tribe wars and tribe events that you do have that Pogger just to make it so that if one tribe is doing a lot of things independently that everyone's not shifting there away from other tribes, which they might be able to, just ensuring that the verification is a little more secure. And then Cubix asks, Rug, are you planning to do a more regular AMAs?
No, not particularly. I'm not planning it, but I'm free to do anytime anybody would like me to tap in for it. I'd be more than happy with it. My communication is really primarily between Nifty, Roger, and the Space Foggers team behind the scenes. But if we want to do something on a consistent basis, I have no problem doing that. My mentality is normally always going to default to like what can I use the most of my time for to get as much work as I can done. Right now, in the background, I'm actually working on the Space Poggers site as we're talking about Space Poggers, just to condense my Space Poggers productivity.
Yeah, I think right now, especially where we're at as a team, is trying to land on what the best balance of communication is. Especially as right now in this period where we're working behind the scenes a lot to develop a lot of things to start showing off, is there's not a lot more to add, and so not having a bunch of events where people are expecting a lot of information and a lot of stuff to come out, and then have them feel disappointed because there wasn't a ton of new insights since we're still in the process of developing a lot of things that just aren't ready to show off.
I'm like personally, and I'm not speaking for Space Poggers on this, coming from just like the ICO era and just like old crypto, I would say. I'm not a big fan of the announcements. I'm not a big fan of like hyping things up before they're there. I like having things tangible. I don't like, and that's the balance right there. It's just like I've always found that to be kind of iffy, like promising things that are going to be there. So that's why I've always been hesitant to do that. I don't like promising things until like we know that we have it.
So if I can jump in, I don't think necessarily, I think we had a moment earlier this week where a lot of people were expressing concern over the communication. I don't think it's necessarily that we need these big, hyped up event announcements. Like, we just like knowing, hey, today we contacted charities and not needing to necessarily know, which charities it is or where we're going, but just having that little bit of information that something was done. And I know that that can be definitely a waste of time to sit there and go, here's everything I did today. And I don't think that's what we're asking for. But I know at that point where we were all kind of hitting a point of frustration is just we don't necessarily need to see the animation. We just want to know that a meeting today was had about it. And those just little tidbits to know that there is being progress being made, even if we don't exactly know what it is.
And I can agree with that completely. I think that really lies on Space Poggers team to start getting some of this information out and us helping them get it out. I think the responsibilities of a marketing agency that was hired doesn't necessarily like there has to be a point that it stops. Like we'll have communication with you. We will come in and like let you all know where we're at to some degree, but a lot of that really needs to fall on Space Poggers leadership because as much as we are ingrained with what's going on with Space Poggers, we are not official team. We're an agency that was hired by Space Poggers. So a lot of the announcements and things like that are on them, but a lot of the reasons that they've been lax in those announcements is because we haven't had anything with confidence to show until very recently. So yeah, that would be my commentary on that.
Yeah, and I think we should see a lot more as we push forward, especially as we have more to show, as opposed to kind of I think there was that hesitancy and an agreement along a lot of the team of waiting till we have much more to show before announcing, and so I think from here we should start to see much more of that as we go forward and have more things to kind of deliver and show actual progress on. Um, Kendrick Lama asks from a sneak peek which may or may not have happened in the living room of can you confirm any rumors regarding llamas and black holes rug?
Oh no, and that's the sneak peek that I put out was very like that's a mock up from a designer. That doesn't have any live data attached to it. That just shows the black hole and leaderboard views on the individual. Um, those ones are from the tribe pages. So that's just what they look like on the site. Those aren't if you see like those are all the same number llama. It's just duplicated things just so we can see how it's going to look, and then we start piping live data into it. So anything that at this point that I share screenshot wise, if I do share stuff screenshot wise, preface with the fact that the data that you see is going to be completely arbitrary. And it's because the design team that we have working on this is more of a traditional design team that we're having built components for that we use our development team to assemble those components into full pages. So our design team doesn't necessarily have to be as surprised on NFTs and crypto and all that for them to be able to do their jobs, which is why some of the designs that we have some of them have some pretty funny figures on it. Like the llamas, for example, on the screenshot that I'm looking at right now, have raised 3,688 Ethereum, which is phenomenal. Like that's a phenomenal amount of ETH raised, but I think it's improbable. So until I say, hey, this is live data, what you're looking at are design mock-ups. So those are just what it's going to look like on the site, and they're pretty cool. Like I really like them a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to clear up here, especially as there are a few people who are thinking maybe that the llamas had won the most recent black hole event and was going very much under the radar.
No, that's just an idea of how the black hole is going to be presented on the site. Like, there's going to be a page on the site. I don't know if it'll be like slash black hole or exactly what the sitemap on that looks like, but there's going to be a way that you can go in and see not only which poggers are in the black hole, but how many of each species are in the black hole, the dates that they went to the black hole, so on and so forth. So it's that's one of my favorite parts about this because like we've done the leaderboards, we've done profiles, we've done things like that. They're unique with poggers, but the cool thing about poggers is the black hole dynamic. Like on the site, like that's just it's so neat the way that comes up because it's just automated. As soon as something hits that wallet, we're able to display it on the page like it's in a black hole. So it's a really neat experience.
Yeah, and some of the longer term things with the black hole are pretty interesting. Where we should be able to see that go and how we are able to implement pretty fun and dynamic ways of the black hole interacting with poggers and the community should be really interesting to see and roll out. I'm not seeing any more questions, so if there are any last minute ones, definitely bring them up. But otherwise, we're coming up upon an hour, and it's been a really good conversation between everyone in Rug.
Hey, Rug, I just want to say thank you for a lot of these answers. I think you really helped give people kind of like I wouldn't even say peace of mind, but I definitely seeing a lot of these things come up quite often. Um, so I think it was really cool, and you seemed to impress a lot of people. So I think that was dope.
Yeah, fuck it. It's no big deal. Like I don't mind doing these. If you guys want me to get on the mic and talk to you guys for an hour, I have no problem doing it. I'm just always going to be working first. So that's why you're not seeing me in the servers because I'm getting shit done. I'm either getting shit done where I'm building stuff for Rug, and the Rug tech is the technology that you'll see in the bigger projects that I'm working on, like Space Poggers. I'm not shilling, but the order form system and the ordering system that we have with Rug right now is the tech that we're demoing to use in the Space Poggers ordering system that we have coming up. Like these are all sandbox technology, even Blaze Cats. So don't be scared if you see me like off like, oh, what is he doing this week? He has fuck loot, he has all this weird shit going on. it's developing new technologies that we could use in different applications. Like they seem weird in the lens of looking at it through rug tech and the rug brand and all the fucks and swearing and all that. But it's really just us sandboxing. Technology has never been made before, and that we're getting ready to ship out to projects like Space Poggers. So stay tuned to that. Thank you guys for having me here. Thank you guys for being cool with me. I appreciate the hard hitting questions too. Like I like to have an opportunity to answer those like once and for all type things because they happen a lot. People say the same things a lot, and it's fine. Like you got to answer those questions that come up a lot. You got to stay on top of those. And I appreciate this community more than any others that I have in the regards that you guys make me come correct for sure. Like there's a lot of things that we do and the rug servers or the Blaze Cat servers that are somewhat spammy and loud and obnoxious and things like that, but that's kind of who those communities are. So anytime that's been pervasive into the Space Poggers community, you all have checked me, and I've came back with as much humility as I can muster to let you know that I apologize, and we're going to do what we can to merge these two brands together in an appropriate way that really propels Space Poggers forward. So you guys kick ass. Thanks a lot. I'll stand by for a couple seconds if anyone wants to throw something else out at me. Otherwise, DMs and Twitter are open. DMs and Discord are closed. And I'll talk to you there.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. And thanks everyone for the questions. I think we had a really good spread and definitely keep them all coming, especially as we do, more AMAs, more arc side chats, more communications. It's a fantastic way to really get the temperature of everything and really see that, the things we're doing right are being done right. The things that could be worked on can be worked on, and just making sure that it isn't just us doing stuff and then everyone following along, but making sure that there's that dialogue and that we're all, propelling the arc forward together because we're all stuck on a spaceship together. So we all got to work together. But it is now 3:01 a.m. for me. So if there's no more last minute questions, I'm going to end the space and get this all started so I can get this uploaded on YouTube for everyone who missed it in the morning.
Oh shoot, I forgot these are recorded. Damn, I'm sorry. I said fuck way too many times. I'm sorry, guys.
Nah, that's all right. It's not like we monetize them or anything.
Oh man.
All right. I'm gonna end the space in just a little bit. Thanks so much everyone for coming, and thanks so much Rug for giving such fantastic answers as always.
Fantastic. Splendid.
All right. I will see you all on the server, and thank you everyone for coming. I'm gonna end this so that it's not so abrupt of an ending.